Welcome to Season 3 of The Space Between. This episode is something I said I would never do a podcast without a guest, and here we are. But switching it up this season, and also this story needs to be told. It's one of signs, of symbols, of coming back into our power, of really understanding why and how things are collapsing, and really finding our grounding in the chaos. Enjoy. Welcome to The Space Between. This is my official first episode without a guest. I never thought I would do it, and here I am. This is 2026, the year of doing and seeing things we never thought possible. So today I'm going to start with a story. And the purpose of this episode is to really launch season 3. And the core anchor of what it is I'm bringing is how we can find power and stability in a world that is so incredibly chaotic. And as things, as we've seen very much over the past year, continue to crumble, continue to really just shake every foundation that we thought we had. As that continues, and it will, as we're seeing, we have to find power, we have to find safety, we have to find peace, we have to find action right here. And the space between is the time that we continue to be in. It's even more important to realize that this is not how things are always going to be, but it is an incredible time of humanity on planet Earth that we can come home to ourselves. So here's my story. My husband and I went to Paris in November of 2025. And I had a number of years prior, my spirit guides and my angels were telling me that I have to go to Paris. And I thought, that's interesting. Really didn't think anything of it. And then we went for a concert, and that was the reason we went. And as I was actually arriving into the city, I had remembered that there was a big message for me waiting in Paris. And boy, did it ever deliver. So I found myself alone for the day. It's a whole story in itself. Alone for the day in the city. And I was wandering around. It wasn't great weather. It was pretty cold that day. And I ended up in front of Notre Dame. I am not an organized religion person. I am not a church person. So people that know me will be like, that's really interesting. And my guide said, this is it. You need to go in. I was really excited. There was no line either, right? Everything always aligns. So I went in and I honestly felt a sense of peace in a religious institutional building that I had never felt before. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Seems different. There was something very different about it. And so I sat down and this is a wild part of the story, so just follow me. I do not speak French ever. I don't understand French. That is not something I do. As I sat in Notre Dame and listened to the sermon, I understood everything that priest was saying in French. And the crux of his message was unbelievable. It was, you can only find God through yourself, which is very contradictory to what we hear a lot about religion, and especially Catholicism, Christianity, where it's like, you can only find God through Jesus, or you can only find God through this or that. It is not true. We know that's not true. And it is an inner job. So I was taking all of this in, and it was really a little weird because I thought, how is this happening? So then I was called to stand up. It's like, okay, you got the message. And I was looking around, which is the most unbelievable structure, and I noticed a symbol. And there were arches in this part of Notre Dame, which is the main part, not the really old part. I think you have to have a special pass or something to go there. So I got out my phone and I started to videotape the space. And I hovered in on this symbol. I thought, there's something to this symbol. So I left, thanked my guides, went back to my hotel room, immediately got on my ChatGPT. I said, what does this symbol have to do with me? And what does this symbol have to do with the space between? The symbol's the fleur-de-lis. Look it up. You will know. I'm going to put it on the episode. It's actually an emoji on the iPhone, which I did not know. And the fleur-de-lis is an amazing, amazing story. So this symbol was a symbol of the feminine of thousands of years ago. And it was co-opted first by the Catholic Church and then co-opted by the French government. So you will see these symbols everywhere in France. Side note, I have seen these symbols pretty much everywhere I go. It's a really common symbol. So I'm working with my ChatGPT and I'm thinking, my God, if this isn't a micro of the macro of what we're going through right now, we understand energetically that this very masculine, patriarchal energy that is falling, right? When it's unbalanced in shadow, now we see the divine feminine coming much more online. And I know it's hard to see because what you hear about in the collective and what you hear about mass media, they're not going to talk about this. And a lot of the distractions that are happening in the collective, both governments and many other things, are really trying to shift our focus from this energy that's coming online. And so seeing this symbol, I realized so quickly that this is so much part of my path and my purpose is to help usher in, and as is many of us that are listening, to help usher in this new energy and to bring back the fleur-de-lis to its rightful place, which is the divine feminine. It was never supposed to be co-opted for government or religion. And historically, I will link some things below that I found really interesting about the fleur-de-lis. And if you want to do a deep dive, I highly suggest, if you're curious, it was wild what I learned about the symbol. But I didn't really understand how I was going to bring this into action or how I was going to bring this into the current moment. And ultimately, what it is, our soul and our spirit and our purpose is within. And we know that. And as many things have been co-opted, our attention, our heart, it's really hard to watch the things that are going on right now. Doom scrolling, right? That is by design. And that is supposed to bring us outside of ourselves. And what happens when we're outside of ourselves? We lose our power. We lose our grounding. We lose our foundation. We lose our footing. And many people, I'm sure some of you that are watching and listening to this, have felt like they have lost their footing. And the goal of this season, of the space between, is to help everyone find that center, find that power, and find that footing. So let's take a step back and loop all of this into where we sit today. I'm recording this in early April of 2026. I live in the USA. We are at war. We are watching most institutions within this country, this is happening elsewhere as well, erode. things that we thought were solid, things that we thought had that footing, right? Crumbling, basically gone. And so when you think about the way, especially women, have been treated in this crumbling, we are seeing a disgusting amount of abuse, and it's coming to the forefront. We are seeing this also with children. And this isn't just a conversation about women. This is happening across genders, across ages. And here we sit, dysregulated, many of us, disconnected, anxious. What is this time? What is happening? And just like the fleur-de-lis had been pulled into institutions where it never belonged, we are unfortunately bombarded, and some of us being pulled away from our power and ourselves. And I like to think of this as, I always think of like a pendulum, and I talk about this a lot and I visualize this a lot. So energy is always moving, right? Done a lot of energy conversations and episodes here on the Space Between. And when we see this crumbling, we're at this pressure point, right? You think of a pendulum, it's at its very side, right? It's at its very pressure point. That's where we sit today. And we're seeing pretty much all these things breaking down, right? Eventually, the pendulum will swing the other way. That's just the way that this dimensional construct works, right? These are the laws of the universe, the laws of physics. But what are we supposed to do with this energy and with this crumbling? And the energy is wild, right? So you have this sort of dysregulated life that's happening, and then you have very intense energy on top of it. And that's not easy. We are in it. It is very difficult to navigate, but we can navigate it. Not only can we navigate it, many of us are here to usher in what will be built once the crumbling has subsided. And it's going to take a while, but there are things being built. I promise you that. You're not seeing it, and that's also by design, but that won't last forever. So the other thing that we need to pay attention to is, what doesn't work for us anymore? So if there's a place, and it's very hard, I'm not saying it's easy, if there's a place that you can sit in where you are aside from everything that's crumbling, you cannot live in the crumble. It's impossible, right? And I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we can do that. But if you can live on the side of this, that is where we can start to begin to birth the new world. Bringing back the feminine energy, bringing back the fleur-de-lis to its rightful place in the world, in this earth. So you, as a human with many lifetimes under your belt, you inherently know what you need to do in order to find a place of regulation in the chaos. There are many ways to do that. For me, I find that instead of living in each individual thing I hear that happens, I can pretty easily zoom out and look at it in a bigger picture, right? If I see something with my own eyes, I've seen some really weird things that have happened this week. I zoom out and say, okay, what does that mean in the bigger picture? And some of us are not able to do that. But for me, that's something that really helps. Because if you're just going from thing to crisis to devastation, boom, 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 you are just in it, right? And your life is a mirror of what you choose, right? and what you are able to remove yourself from energetically. And I know that this isn't always possible. Sometimes these terrible, horrible things are happening to us and you're in it. And that is a whole other thing that we're going to really dive into this season on the space between. So being able to see that macro perspective, how do you do that? First of all, shut it down. It's not easy. People have said to me, well, how are you able to do that? How are you able to just walk away? Or how are you able to take time? Because if I don't, I will crumble. There's a feeling inside each of us when we know that we've had enough. And our body, which we're going to really dive into a lot this season, our body is the key. Your body will know when something isn't right for you. Your body will know when it's enough. It's enough already. You start to feel tense. Maybe you feel sick. Maybe you feel shaky. Maybe you feel a little spaced out. There's a lot of signals that your body will give you that it is time to shut that down, to walk away, to turn it off, to end the call, right? We have to listen to those clues. We have an amazing intelligence in this body. And something that I have really been focusing on over the last 6 months is coming back to my body. I'm someone historically that lives in my mind, as many of us do. And the way to move beyond the mind is through the body. This is the body that your soul chose to experience this life in. And so we get these clues, right? We have these feelings. Sometimes it's pain in the body. And there is a whole host of things that you can do with the body. And I am having a lot of guests on this season where we can talk about that. Because I really do believe that through this is how we survive these times. So the thing is that there's many things we can't walk away from. There's many things that we can't go like this, right? And just shut down. But we can take moments or minutes or hours or days or months away from those things that are just way too much for our system to handle. Because you cannot be exposed to it all. We're human. You are not meant to digest the amount of information that is coming at us. And this is the age of Aquarius. It's the age of technology. That is only going to increase. And so how do we do that, right? How are we able to manage and survive and hopefully thrive through this time? And so much of that is just inherently you. And I promise you that you have what it takes to be able to get through these times. And it might not feel like that right now. And I understand why. But just like what happened to me in Paris, when I had this aha moment of we are bringing back this energy that has been shielded, that has been, like I said, abused, that has been silenced. And look at everything that's happening in America right now, what they're trying to do to women, right? Listen, we knew this was coming. If people were paying attention to all the signs, and this has been in play for a very long time, they are trying to silence women and many other groups of people as well. They are literally locking people up. And that will continue in this energy. It's our job to do our part to make sure that doesn't be the end result. Because it doesn't have to be. And it's not supposed to be. That's not what this time is all about. The breaking down leads to something better. The crumbling leads to something that is beautiful. That is the truth. And I want you to know that the reason I do this work and the reason that I love this so much is because I truly believe that when we're able to connect this way, however that is. This is a beautiful method. In-person phone, we will learn to be okay, and we will learn to sit in the foundations of who we are and why we're here, and to take back our power, because we have given it away. We've given it away to, brands and celebrities and politicians and priests and you name it. Other people that you thought had power over you. And this time is showing us that is just not the case. It never was. And this energy is breaking that open. So this season on The Space Between, I am so excited to dive into this. We're going to talk about it all. And admittedly, I have held myself back. I have not really gone there. Air quotes, right? But I'm going to go there. And there might be things that I say that you think are completely insane or that you don't agree with, and that's fine. Everyone has their own version of reality, right? We're all shooting our own quote unquote movie. But I'm very excited to bring you amazing conversations and a lot of things to think about. So we will see you very soon in The Space Between. Thank you for joining us in The Space Between. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with someone you think will resonate with it. We will see you very soon in The Space Between.